So these are the folks, those of you that are still sitting, look around. These are the folks that you should talk to later after the presentation if you're interested in working with the Department of Defense. When DOOM was modified by the Marine Corps, I remember thinking, wow, I really want to work with them someday. And so here we are, and you know, what is it, 10 years later or more? And if you go to the expo floor and look at all of the companies that are out there, many of them have government contracts and are working with the Department of Defense. So what I'd like to do is really not talk about projects because there are so many. What I'd instead like to do is to just provide you with an idea of some of the challenges that the DoD faces. And I'm a social scientist, so I have a bias, and I'm leaning towards the more social problems. But I would argue that really the national investment in the future of gaming depends on the game community's ability to really help DoD solve their problems. And so these are very complex interdisciplinary problems that are dealt with. It does really require a team that comes together, and we're really talking about all kinds of technologies working together. So whether it's intelligent tutoring and games, you know, wearables, sensors, big data analytics, that's all coming together in the Department of Defense. This might be what you imagine the DoD to be about, which is, you know, high tech, and we're talking wearables and heads-up displays and augmented reality and exoskeletons, and while all of that may be true, this is also a depiction of someone who is relatively faceless. And in fact, the DoD is really very people-centric, and it really is about real people with real stories. And so this is something that I do not believe will change. We will want to find better ways to immerse people in these stories to make them more real. But really it will always come down to whether or not we can use games and game technology to help save lives. It really becomes our job to leverage technology, especially the game technology, to create to recreate and repurpose stories for training. So one of the ways that you can get involved is to come to the Defense Game Tech Conference that is in Orlando, Florida every year. It'll be in September this year, and there you can really meet the players. You can meet the program managers that work for the government. You can meet the defense contractors that will likely, if you're part of a game company, you might be a subcontractor to them for a government contract. And so it will help you very quickly understand a little bit more about the ins and outs of working with the government, in particular with the Defense Department. Team Orlando is the collection of services that are co-located in Orlando, Florida. And Orlando, Florida has really become the hub for modeling and simulation for the Defense Department. So companies that are really working in the industry are co-located there. And Team Orlando has worked over the years with NTSA and the National Simulation, or National Center for Simulation, on two major conferences. One is ITSEC, which occurs every year in December, and that is modeling and simulation, and then the other being Game Tech. And when I was program chair of Game Tech in 2011, I brought Mark Long to the conference to tell us about Transmedia, and you might recognize him. It was a great conference because one of the things that we're trying to do with the Department of Defense is really introduce this idea of creating more connected experiences using more of a transmedia approach. So at the ITSEC conference in Orlando, Florida, we actually also have a serious game showcase and challenge. Next year will be our 10th year, and last year we had 52 games that were submitted from government, industry, and students. And so it's become very popular. As an integrated project team, what we do is down select from 52 to about 18, and then those games are sent to reviewers all over the world. We have over 70 reviewers that review our games. So the opportunities are out there for you. Don't count the DoD or the government out, especially those of you that are looking for employment. Also, the ability to present work at scientific meetings, science journals, and technical reports. So this being an important part of working for DoD or the government.